Emily in Paris was brought to life by the same creative mind that brought us Sex and the City. And while the shows share a few general similarities, one of the biggest is that their central characters are kind of annoying.
You lost me, bonjour.
But while Carrie Bradshaw became a beloved character despite, or perhaps even because of, her flaws, Emily Cooper hasn't managed to work her way into audiences' hearts in quite the same way. But why? What is it that sets Carrie apart from Emily? Let's take a deeper look at that, plus analyze how the creative team has been trying to fix Emily in more recent seasons, and how that is and isn't working. Deciding which Sex and the City character you most closely align with has been a thing both in real life and on screen since the show was on the air.
I'm definitely a Carrie at heart, but sometimes Samantha kind of comes out.
So it was no surprise that when the show's creator, Darren Star, developed a new show for Netflix, that the new show's protagonist shared some parallels with the iconic anti-heroine Carrie. They're both beautiful, messy women with creative jobs living in exciting major cities. They often take inspiration for their work directly from their own tumultuous lives, and seem to have a pretty much endless string of men waiting to fall in love with them. Though, unfortunately for most of these guys, they both seem to love the idea of being in a relationship more than the reality, because what they really love is the chase.
Did I ever really love big? Or was I addicted to the pain? The exquisite pain of wanting someone so unattainable.
As much as they might want to imagine themselves as a woman who wants a stable relationship, they just can't seem to shake their obsession with the unavailable guy they have an on and off thing with. They're both rather self-centered and have main character syndrome, and often have a very hard time seeing things from anyone else's perspective, or even remembering to think about the fact that everyone else around them does also in fact have their own thoughts and feelings.
That's very American.
That's literally why I'm here, to bring an American point of view.
You're more like the prude police.
They're both really into fashion and take some big swings with their unique styles, and enjoy using their clothes as a way to express themselves and the things they can't always say.
It's like wearing poetry.
While Carrie became a style icon, with many of her outfits going on to become iconic in their own right, Emily's style has not worked out quite so well. Carrie, in the earlier seasons at least, felt like she was genuinely using fashion for self-exploration and expression as she worked to figure out her own life. Things didn't always work out, but it was clear she was trying to do something.
And just like that, I was cast out of the fancy party.
Emily's outfits are also hit or miss, but she never has many big wins, because, like Emily herself, many of her outfits come across as very try-hard. The choices of someone who is deliberately and specifically trying to frame themselves as a fashion icon, as opposed to the genuine wardrobe choices of a woman interested in using clothing to express her inner self. Both women are very much products of their times, and so their kind of annoying natures are a deliberate exercise in unpacking the conundrums and issues women of their respective eras run into, ramped up to be a little extra messy to add some more fun and drama. Carrie was very much born out of the so-called post-feminist thinking of the late 90s.
Sweetheart, this is the first time in the history of Manhattan that women have had as much money and power as men, plus the equal luxury of treating men like sex objects.
Yeah. She's independent and free, but also constantly wondering if she should be living in a different way, and torn between what she feels like she should want and what she actually wants.
Maybe some women aren't meant to be tamed. Maybe they need to run free until they find someone just as wild to run with.
This leads her to make many questionable decisions that can be incredibly frustrating to watch. But because she was written to feel like a real human being, they don't feel detached from reality. Just like watching your friend, or the worst part of yourself, acting out some not-so-great choices. Emily comes from the modern social media era, always bright and shiny and ready to tackle anything that comes her way. She's very much bought into the idea that she can achieve anything she sets her mind to, even if it means stepping on some other people's toes to get there. Though she does manage some relatable moments.
I'm not somebody who can share a crepe. I need the whole crepe.
She never feels quite as real as Carrie does. She, perhaps unsurprisingly, feels more like watching an influencer, all highlights, and even when she does hit a low, it's never that deep or around for that long. Both shows use their protagonists' self-centered natures and inability or refusal to think things through as a way to spur conflict and set up drama. But while in both cases this can be grating to watch play out at times, Carrie manages to hold onto a thread of relatability, while Emily floats away into often being completely unsympathetic. And there's one big reason for that. In a world of slot reels and blackjack deals comes the must-play event of the summer from DraftKings Casino, featuring non-stop action and an all-star cast of games, including A-lister Loki's Luck. This summer blockbuster is one you won't want to miss. Plus, new players can get $100 instantly in casino credits with just a $1 wager, and all players get a blockbuster bonus every week. So sign up with code THETAKE and grab your popcorn. It's showtime on DraftKings Casino. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. 21 plus. Physically present in Connecticut, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia only. Void in Ontario. Eligibility and other restrictions apply. New customers only. $1 wager to earn $100 in non-withdrawable casino credits that expire in 168 hours. Terms at casino.draftkings.com/blockbuster. Sex and the City's episodes are given narrative grounding by Carrie's narration, giving her the opportunity to lay out the larger topic at hand, and often at least try to explain her more erratic behavior. Emily in Paris lacks this, bouncing around topics and plots without ever really taking time to deeply explore most of the ideas it brings up. But while this setup does help make Carrie feel more connected and understandable, the real thing that keeps us linked to her is actually her friends.
It's hard to find people who will love you no matter what. I was lucky enough to find 3 of them.
Samantha, Miranda, and Charlotte played important roles in leveling out the show's dynamic. They were all grown women with their own thoughts, ideas, and experiences, and so were able to look at issues from different perspectives. But the most key element was that the core 4 had deep, loving relationships and truly cared for one another, which meant that they'd always be there when someone else needed them.
I can do better than that. I'm coming with you.
Oh, so now you support women in the arts.
I support you, and honey, these bitches need to be put in their places.
But also that they weren't afraid to call their friends out when they needed to be brought back down to earth.
I love you, but it's not my job to fix your finances. You're a 35-year-old woman. You need to learn to stand on your own.
This was especially important for pie-in-the-sky Carrie, who was constantly finding herself in new conundrums, and creating problems if there weren't any.
Honey, you're obsessed with talking about big, and frankly, we can't take it anymore.
It's out of our league.
What is this, an intervention?
Yes, stop her before she obsesses again.
But Carrie's messier nature also provided a relatable counterbalance to the others as well. She didn't have it all together, and particularly in the earlier seasons, we could really feel how difficult it was for her to feel like she was the only one who didn't have everything figured out.
You know, she's shiny-haired, style section, Vera Wang, and I'm, the sex column they run next to ads for penile implants.
She doesn't feel like she just appeared in Manhattan one day, fully formed and ready to take on the world. She's constantly learning and evolving as a person with the help of her friends. They're able to make it through anything because they're making it through together. And so no matter how obnoxious Carrie could occasionally get, we always felt connected to her because we felt connected to the love her friends had for her. They helped us see the good in her, even when she was making us want to scream.
I have this non-married, wonderful boyfriend with all his hair waiting for me who smells great.
Don't beat yourself up.
Don't you want to judge me just a little bit?
Not my style.
Emily isn't so lucky, and it's not entirely her fault. The fish out of water setup of Emily in Paris, by definition, means she doesn't get to have those same kinds of long-standing, built-in relationships, and instead is having to start from scratch.
I did Rosetta Stone on the plane, but it hasn't kicked in yet.
While she does begin making friends pretty quickly, they just don't have a deep care for or understanding of each other that would allow them to help us stay connected to the better sides of these characters. To be fair to Emily, in the timeline of the show, even by season 4, she's only been in Paris for a little over a year, a very short time to foster truly deep relationships in regular life, much less when you're in a show that needs to make sure you're constantly having some new drama. Some of the characters are willing to call Emily out when she's being particularly totally ridiculous, but it doesn't feel like it's being done from a place of love like on Sex and the City. And we're never really given many other avenues to connect with Emily either. She never really seems to struggle in any meaningful way. She's able to constantly get promotions even though she doesn't seem that good at her job, and still hasn't even learned the language of the country she lives in and company she works for. The show tries to make her feel aspirational by insisting that she's special, but doesn't really show us much of that, beyond everything always somehow working out for her no matter what. Both characters have been derided for their selfish natures, but with Carrie, we usually did get to see, to some degree, how she wrestled with her poor choices and second-guessed things, and how many of her worst choices were a result of her refusal to deal with her anxious nature and curb her impulsivity. She did have to face consequences for her actions, and the show didn't always frame her as being in the right no matter what she did.
It was wrong. And I'm sorry.
Are you through? Now, not only have you ruined my marriage, you've ruined my lunch.
With Emily, it often feels like she actually doesn't care at all. And if she does do anything bad, the show will twist itself to make excuses for her, even down to torpedoing other characters to make Emily look better in comparison. But on the other hand, while Carrie did get hit with a lot of big lessons over the course of the show, by the end, it began to feel like she hadn't actually grown all that much. And things just kind of began falling into place without much change or work on her part, from a fancy job to finally locking down the man of her dreams. Well, kind of. Emily still has a chance to go in the other direction, to actually evolve as a character before the end of the show's run. The writers do unfortunately seem stuck on rehashing many of the same plot lines over and over, which has hindered Emily's opportunities for personal growth. But with a season and a half left, there's still time. Hopefully they'll spend some more time on her other relationships, developing her friendships so we can begin to see a more multi-dimensional Emily that isn't just a vehicle for drama, but also someone we can root for. Emily Cooper will never be as iconic as Carrie Bradshaw, but she could learn some things from the iconic anti-heroine. And more importantly, the show's creatives could remember some important things about what made Sex and the City work so well. Emily in Paris is just made to be pure mindless escapism, so it's not like it needs to be totally true to life. But bringing in a little more reality and relatability could actually serve to make it more fun to watch. That's the take. Click here to watch the video we think you'll love, or here to check out a whole playlist of awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. And make sure to subscribe to our Patreon for exclusive new videos.